Chapter 8. The Power of Faith. As Jesus came down from the mountain, large crowds followed him. A man with a skin disease knelt before him, saying, "Lord, if you are willing, you can make me clean." Jesus reached out and touched him. "I am willing," he said, "be clean." Immediately the man was healed. Jesus then told him, "Don't tell anyone, but go show yourself to the priest and offer the gift Moses commanded as proof to them." Later, a Roman officer came to Jesus, pleading for help. "Lord," he said, "my servant is at home, paralyzed and in terrible pain." Jesus replied, "I will come and heal him." But the officer answered, "Lord, I am not worthy to have you come under my roof. Just say the word, and my servant will be healed. I know this because I am under authority, and I have soldiers under me. I tell one, 'Go,' and he goes, and I tell another, 'Come,' and he comes." When Jesus heard this, he was amazed. "I tell you the truth, I have not found such great faith anywhere in Israel," he said. "And I tell you that many will come from the east and west to sit with Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob in the kingdom of heaven, but those who think they belong there will be thrown into the darkness outside." Then Jesus said to the officer, "Go, let it be done, just as you believed it would." And at that very moment, the servant was healed. When Jesus entered Peter's house, he found Peter's mother-in-law in bed with a fever. He touched her hand, and the fever left her. She immediately got up and began to serve them. That evening, many people who were possessed by demons were brought to Jesus, and he cast out the spirits with a single word. He also healed all who were sick. This was to fulfill what the prophet Isaiah had said. He took up our weaknesses and carried our diseases. As Jesus prepared to cross the lake, a religious scholar came to him, saying, "Teacher, I will follow you wherever you go." Jesus replied, "Foxes have dens, and birds have nests, but the Son of Man has no place to lay his head." Another disciple said, "Lord, let me first go and bury my father." But Jesus told him, "Follow me, and let the spiritually dead bury their own dead." Then Jesus got into a boat, and his disciples followed him. Suddenly, a violent storm arose on the lake, with waves crashing over the boat. But Jesus was sleeping. The disciples woke him, shouting, "Lord, save us, we're going to drown." He replied, "Why are you so afraid, you of little faith?" Then he got up, rebuked the winds and the waves, and there was a great calm. The men were astonished and asked, "What kind of man is this? Even the winds and the sea obey him." When they arrived on the other side, in the country of the Gadarenes, 2 men possessed by demons came out of the tombs to meet him. They were so violent that no one could pass that way. They shouted, "What do you want with us, Son of God? Have you come here to torment us before the appointed time?" A large herd of pigs was feeding nearby, and the demons begged him, "If you cast us out, send us into the herd of pigs." He said to them, "Go." So the demons left the men and went into the pigs. The entire herd rushed down the steep bank into the lake and drowned. The herdsmen fled to the town and told everyone what had happened to the men and the pigs. The whole town came out to meet Jesus, and when they saw him, they begged him to leave their region. Chapter 9. Healing and Forgiveness. Jesus got back into the boat, crossed the lake, and returned to his own town. Some men brought him a paralyzed man on a mat. When Jesus saw their faith, he said to the man, "Take courage, son, your sins are forgiven." Some of the religious scholars thought to themselves, "This man is blaspheming." But Jesus knew what they were thinking and asked, "Why do you have such evil thoughts? Which is easier to say, 'Your sins are forgiven,' or 'Get up and walk'? I will prove to you that the Son of Man has authority on earth to forgive sins." Then he said to the paralyzed man, "Get up, take your mat, and go home." The man got up and went home, and the crowds were amazed. They praised God for giving such authority to a man. As Jesus was leaving, he saw a tax collector named Matthew sitting at his tax booth. Jesus said to him, "Follow me." And Matthew got up and followed him. That evening, as Jesus was eating at Matthew's house, many tax collectors and other sinners came and ate with him and his disciples. When the Pharisees saw this, they asked his disciples, "Why does your teacher eat with tax collectors and sinners?" Jesus heard them and replied, "Healthy people don't need a doctor. Sick people do. Now go and learn the meaning of this scripture. I want you to show mercy, not offer sacrifices. For I have come to call not those who think they are righteous, but those who know they are sinners." Then John's disciples came to him and asked, "Why do we and the Pharisees fast, but your disciples don't?" Jesus answered, "Do wedding guests mourn while the groom is with them? Of course not, but the day will come when the groom is taken away from them, and then they will fast. Besides, no one puts a patch of unshrunk cloth on an old coat, for the patch will shrink and tear away, making the hole even worse. And no one pours new wine into old wineskins. If they do, the wineskins will burst, the wine will spill, and the wineskins will be ruined. Instead, they pour new wine into new wineskins, and both are preserved." As he was saying this, a synagogue leader came and knelt before him. "My daughter has just died," he said, "but if you come and lay your hand on her, she will live." Jesus got up and followed him, along with his disciples. Just then, a woman who had suffered from a bleeding disorder for 12 years came up behind him and touched the fringe of his garment. She said to herself, "If I can just touch his clothes, I will be healed." Jesus turned around, and when he saw her, he said, "Take courage, daughter, your faith has healed you." And she was healed from that moment on. When Jesus arrived at the synagogue leader's house, he saw the flute players and the noisy mourners. "Go away," he said. "The girl is not dead, but sleeping." The people laughed at him, but he sent them all out. Then he went in, took the girl by the hand, and she got up. The news of this miracle spread throughout the whole region. As Jesus went on, 2 blind men followed him, calling out, "Have mercy on us, Son of David." When he entered the house, they came to him, and he asked, "Do you believe that I can do this?" "Yes, Lord," they replied. Then he touched their eyes and said, "Because of your faith, it will happen." And their eyes were opened. Jesus sternly warned them, "Don't tell anyone about this." But they went out and spread the news about him all over that region. Just after they left, a man who couldn't speak and was possessed by a demon was brought to Jesus. When Jesus cast out the demon, the man began to speak. The crowds were amazed and said, "We have never seen anything like this in Israel." But the Pharisees said, "He casts out demons by the power of the prince of demons." Jesus traveled through all the towns and villages, teaching in their synagogues, preaching the good news of the kingdom, and healing every sickness and disease. When he saw the crowds, he had compassion on them because they were harassed and helpless, like sheep without a shepherd. He said to his disciples, "The harvest is plentiful, but the workers are few. Pray to the Lord of the harvest to send out more workers into his harvest field." Chapter 10, Sending Out the 12. Jesus called his 12 disciples together and gave them authority to cast out evil spirits and to heal every kind of sickness and disease. These are the names of the 12 apostles. First, Simon, also called Peter, and his brother Andrew, James and his brother John, the sons of Zebedee, Philip and Bartholomew, Thomas and Matthew the tax collector, James the son of Alphaeus and Thaddeus, Simon the Zealot, and Judas Iscariot, who later betrayed him. Jesus sent them out with these instructions: Don't go to the Gentiles or enter any Samaritan town. Go only to the lost sheep of Israel. As you go, preach this message: the kingdom of heaven is near. Heal the sick, raise the dead, cleanse those with skin diseases, and cast out demons. Give as freely as you have received. Don't take any money, no gold, silver, or copper in your belts. Don't take a traveler's bag, extra clothes, sandals, or a walking stick, for a worker is worthy of his food. When you enter a town or village, find a worthy person and stay with them until you leave. As you enter the house, give it your blessing of peace. If the house is worthy, your peace will rest on it. If it is not, your peace will return to you. If anyone will not welcome you or listen to your message, shake the dust off your feet as you leave. I tell you the truth, it will be more bearable for Sodom and Gomorrah on the day of judgment than for that town. I am sending you out like sheep among wolves, so be as shrewd as snakes and as innocent as doves. Beware of people, for they will hand you over to their courts and whip you in their synagogues. You will be brought before governors and kings because of me, as a testimony to them and to the Gentiles. But when you are arrested, don't worry about what to say or how to say it. At that time you will be given the right words, for it will not be you speaking, but the Spirit of your Father speaking through you. Brother will betray brother to death, and a father will betray his child. Children will rebel against their parents and have them put to death. All people will hate you because you are my followers, but the one who endures to the end will be saved. When they persecute you in one town, flee to the next. I assure you, you will not finish going through all the towns of Israel before the Son of Man comes. A student is not above his teacher, nor a servant above his master. It is enough for the student to be like his teacher, and the servant like his master. If people have called the head of the house Beelzebub, how much more will they malign the members of his household? So don't be afraid of them, for everything that is hidden will be revealed, and everything that is secret will be made known. What I tell you in the dark, speak in the daylight. What you hear whispered, proclaim from the rooftops. Don't be afraid of those who can kill the body, but cannot kill the soul. Rather, be afraid of the one who can destroy both soul and body in hell. Aren't 2 sparrows sold for a penny? Yet not one of them will fall to the ground outside your Father's care. And even the hairs on your head are all counted. So don't be afraid, you are more valuable than many sparrows. Everyone who acknowledges me publicly, I will acknowledge before my Father in heaven. But everyone who denies me publicly, I will deny before my Father in heaven. Don't think that I have come to bring peace to the earth. I did not come to bring peace, but a sword. For I have come to turn a son against his father, a daughter against her mother, and a daughter-in-law against her mother-in-law. A person's enemies will be those of his own household. Whoever loves father or mother more than me is not worthy of me. Whoever loves son or daughter more than me is not worthy of me. And whoever does not take up his cross and follow me is not worthy of me. Whoever finds his life will lose it, and whoever loses his life for my sake will find it. Whoever welcomes you welcomes me, and whoever welcomes me welcomes the one who sent me. Whoever welcomes a prophet, because he is a prophet, will receive a prophet's reward. Whoever welcomes a righteous person, because he is a righteous person, will receive a righteous person's reward. And if you give even a cup of cold water to one of these little ones who is my disciple, I assure you, you will not lose your reward. Chapter 11. Doubt and Rest. Chapter 11. Doubt and Rest. Chapter 11. And Rest of Fak. Chapter 11. Duikats Tuai. Talk and Rest. After Jesus had finished instructing his 12 disciples, he went on to teach and preach in the towns of Galilee. When John the Immerser who was in prison, heard about all the things the Messiah was doing. He sent his disciples to ask Jesus, "Are you the one we should be expecting, or should we look for someone else?" Jesus answered them, "Go back to John and tell him what you have seen and heard. The blind see, the lame walk, those with skin diseases are healed, the deaf hear, the dead are raised to life, and the good news is being preached to the poor. And a special peace is for anyone who does not lose faith in me." As John's disciples were leaving, Jesus began to speak to the crowds about John. "What did you go out into the wilderness to see? A reed swaying in the wind? What did you go out to see? A man dressed in fine clothes? No, those who wear fine clothes live in kings' palaces. What did you go out to see? A prophet? Yes, I tell you, and more than a prophet. John is the one about whom the scriptures say, 'Look, I am sending my messenger ahead of you, and he will prepare your way.' I tell you the truth, of all who have ever lived, none is greater than John the Immerser. Yet even the least person in the kingdom of heaven is greater than he is. From the time of John the Immerser until now, the kingdom of heaven has been forcefully advancing, and forceful people are trying to seize it. For all the prophets and the law prophesied until John. And if you are willing to accept it, he is the Elijah who was to come. Anyone with ears to hear should listen and understand." Then Jesus went on to say, "To what can I compare this generation? They are like children playing in the marketplace, calling out to each other, 'We played the flute for you, and you didn't dance. We sang a funeral song, and you didn't mourn.' For John came neither eating nor drinking, and they said, 'He has a demon.' The Son of Man came eating and drinking, and they said, 'He's a glutton and a drunkard, a friend of tax collectors and sinners.' But wisdom is proved right by her actions." Then Jesus began to denounce the towns where he had performed most of his miracles, because they had not changed their hearts. "What sorrow awaits you, Chorazin and Bethsaida! For if the miracles I did in you had been done in Tyre and Sidon, their people would have turned to God long ago in mourning. I tell you, it will be more bearable for Tyre and Sidon on the day of judgment than for you. And you, Capernaum, will you be lifted up to heaven? No, you will be brought down to the depths of hell. For if the miracles I did in you had been done in Sodom, it would still be here today. I tell you, it will be more bearable for Sodom on the day of judgment than for you." At that time, Jesus said, "O Father, Lord of heaven and earth, thank you for hiding these things from those who think they are wise, and for revealing them to little children. Yes, Father, for that is what pleased you. My Father has given me all things. No one knows the Son except the Father, and no one knows the Father except the Son, and those to whom the Son chooses to reveal him. Come to me, all of you who are weary and carry heavy burdens, and I will give you rest. Take my yoke upon you. Let me teach you, because I am humble and gentle at heart, and you will find rest for your souls. For my yoke is easy to bear, and the burden I give you is light." Chapter 12. Sabbath, Signs, and Blasphemy. At that time, Jesus was walking through the grain fields on the Sabbath. His disciples were hungry, and they began to pick heads of grain and eat them. When the Pharisees saw this, they said to him, "Look, your disciples are doing what is unlawful on the Sabbath." Jesus replied, "Haven't you read what David did when he and his companions were hungry? He entered the house of God and ate the consecrated bread, which was only for the priests, and gave some to his companions. Haven't you read in the law that on the Sabbath the priests in the temple do not follow the Sabbath regulations and yet are innocent? I tell you that something greater than the temple is here. If you had known what these words mean, 'I desire mercy, not sacrifice,' you would not have condemned the innocent, for the Son of Man is Lord of the Sabbath." Then he left and went into their synagogue. A man with a shriveled hand was there, and they asked Jesus, "Is it lawful to heal on the Sabbath?" They were hoping to accuse him. He said to them, "If one of you had a sheep fall into a pit on the Sabbath, would you not take hold of it and lift it out? A person is more valuable than a sheep, so it is lawful to do good on the Sabbath." Then he said to the man, "Stretch out your hand." He stretched it out, and it was completely restored, just like the other one. But the Pharisees went out and began to plot how they might kill Jesus. Jesus knew what they were doing and withdrew from that place. Many people followed him, and he healed them all, but he warned them not to tell others who he was. This fulfilled the words of the prophet Isaiah. "Here is my servant, whom I have chosen, my beloved, in whom my soul delights. I will put my spirit on him, and he will proclaim justice to the nations. He will not quarrel or cry out. No one will hear his voice in the streets. He will not break a bent reed or extinguish a smoldering wick until he leads justice to victory. And in his name the nations will hope." Then a demon-possessed man who was blind and could not speak was brought to Jesus. Jesus healed him so that the man could both talk and see. The crowds were all astonished and said, "Could this be the son of David?" But when the Pharisees heard this, they said, "He casts out demons only by the power of Beelzebub, the prince of demons." Jesus knew their thoughts and said to them, "Every kingdom divided against itself will be ruined, and every city or household divided against itself will not stand. If Satan casts out Satan, he is divided against himself. How then can his kingdom stand? And if I cast out demons by Beelzebub, by whom do your people cast them out? So they will be your judges. But if I cast out demons by the Spirit of God, then the kingdom of God has come upon you. How can anyone enter a strong man's house and steal his possessions unless he first ties up the strong man? Then he can plunder his house. Whoever is not with me is against me, and whoever does not gather with me scatters. Therefore I tell you, every sin and blasphemy will be forgiven, but blasphemy against the Spirit will not be forgiven. Anyone who speaks a word against the Son of Man will be forgiven, but anyone who speaks against the Holy Spirit will not be forgiven, either in this age or in the age to come. Make a tree good, and its fruit will be good, or make a tree bad, and its fruit will be bad, for a tree is known by its fruit. You brood of vipers, how can you who are evil say anything good? For the mouth speaks what the heart is full of. A good person brings good things out of the good stored up in them, and an evil person brings evil things out of the evil stored up in them. I tell you, on the day of judgment, people will have to give an account for every careless word they have spoken. For by your words you will be acquitted, and by your words you will be condemned. Then some of the Pharisees and religious scholars said to him, "Teacher, we want to see a sign from you." He answered, "An evil and unfaithful generation seeks a sign, but no sign will be given to it except the sign of the prophet Jonah. For just as Jonah was 3 days and 3 nights in the belly of the huge fish, so the Son of Man will be 3 days and 3 nights in the heart of the earth. The men of Nineveh will stand up at the judgment with this generation and condemn it, because they turned to God when they heard Jonah's preaching, and now something greater than Jonah is here. The queen of the south will rise up at the judgment with this generation and condemn it, because she came from the ends of the earth to hear the wisdom of Solomon, and now something greater than Solomon is here. When an evil spirit comes out of a person, it goes through arid places seeking rest and does not find it. Then it says, 'I will return to the house I left.' When it arrives, it finds the house unoccupied, swept clean, and put in order. Then it goes and takes 7 other spirits more wicked than itself, and they go in and live there. And the final condition of that person is worse than the first. That is how it will be with this evil generation." While Jesus was still speaking to the crowds, his mother and brothers came and stood outside, wanting to speak to him. Someone told him, "Your mother and brothers are standing outside, asking to speak to you." He replied to the person, "Who is my mother? Who are my brothers?" Then he pointed to his disciples and said, "Here are my mother and my brothers. For whoever does the will of my Father in heaven is my brother, my sister, and my mother." Chapter 13. Parables of the Kingdom. That same day, Jesus went out of the house and sat by the lake. Such large crowds gathered around him that he got into a boat and sat down, while all the people stood on the shore. Then he told them many things in parables, saying, "A farmer went out to sow his seed. As he was scattering the seed, some fell along the path, and the birds came and ate it up. Some fell on rocky places where there was not much soil. It sprang up quickly, but since it had no deep root, the sun scorched it, and it withered. Other seed fell among thorns, which grew up and choked the plants. But some seed fell on good soil, where it produced a crop 160 or 30 times what was sown. Anyone with ears to hear should listen and understand." His disciples came and asked him, "Why do you speak to the people in parables?" He replied, "The secrets of the kingdom of heaven have been given to you, but not to them. For whoever has will be given more, and they will have plenty. But whoever does not have, even what they have will be taken from them. This is why I speak to them in parables. They see, but do not perceive, and they hear, but do not listen or understand." This fulfills the prophecy of Isaiah. "You will be ever hearing, but never understanding. You will be ever seeing, but never perceiving. For this people's heart has become calloused. They hardly hear with their ears, and they have closed their eyes. Otherwise they might see with their eyes, hear with their ears, understand with their hearts, and turn, and I would heal them. But a special peace is for you, because your eyes see and your ears hear. I tell you the truth, many prophets and righteous people longed to see what you see, but they didn't see it, and to hear what you hear, but they didn't hear it. Now listen to the meaning of the parable of the sower. When anyone hears the message about the kingdom and does not understand it, the evil one comes and snatches away what was sown in their heart. This is the seed sown along the path. The seed that fell on rocky places is the one who hears the word, and at once receives it with joy. But since they have no root, they last only a short time. When trouble or persecution comes because of the word, they quickly fall away. The seed that fell among the thorns is the one who hears the word, but the worries of this life and the deceitfulness of wealth choke the word, making it unfruitful. But the seed that fell on good soil is the one who hears the word and understands it. This is the one who produces a crop yielding 160 or 30 times what was sown. He told them another parable. The kingdom of heaven is like a man who sowed good seed in his field. But while everyone was sleeping, his enemy came and sowed weeds among the wheat and went away. When the wheat sprouted and formed heads, then the weeds also appeared. The owner's servants came to him and said, "Sir, didn't you sow good seed in your field? Where did all these weeds come from?" He answered, "An enemy did this." The servants asked, "Do you want us to go and pull them up?" "No," he replied, "because as you gather the weeds, you might uproot the wheat with them. Let both grow together until the harvest. At that time, I will tell the harvesters, 'First collect the weeds and tie them in bundles to be burned. Then gather the wheat and bring it into my barn.' He told them another parable. The kingdom of heaven is like a mustard seed, which a man took and planted in his field. Though it is the smallest of all seeds, yet when it grows, it is the largest of garden plants and becomes a tree, so that the birds come and perch in its branches. He told them still another parable. The kingdom of heaven is like yeast that a woman took and mixed into about 60 pounds of flour until it worked its way through all the dough. Jesus spoke all these things to the crowds in parables. He did not say anything to them without using a parable. This was to fulfill what was spoken through the prophet. I will open my mouth in parables. I will utter things hidden since the creation of the world. Then Jesus sent the crowds away and went into the house. His disciples came to him and said, "Explain to us the parable of the weeds in the field." He answered, "The one who sowed the good seed is the Son of Man. The field is the world, and the good seed stands for the children of the kingdom. The weeds are the children of the evil one, and the enemy who sows them is the devil. The harvest is the end of the age, and the harvesters are angels. As the weeds are gathered and burned in the fire, so it will be at the end of the age. The Son of Man will send out his angels, and they will pull out of his kingdom everything that causes sin and all who do evil. They will throw them into the blazing furnace, where there will be weeping and gnashing of teeth. Then the righteous will shine like the sun in the kingdom of their Father. Anyone with ears to hear should listen and understand. The kingdom of heaven is like treasure hidden in a field. When a man found it, he hid it again, and then in his joy went and sold everything he had and bought that field. Again, the kingdom of heaven is like a merchant looking for fine pearls. When he found one of great value, he went away and sold everything he had and bought it. Again, the kingdom of heaven is like a net that was let down into the lake and caught all kinds of fish. When it was full, the fishermen pulled it up on the shore. Then they sat down and sorted the good fish into baskets, but threw the bad ones away. That is how it will be at the end of the age. The angels will come and separate the wicked from the righteous, and throw the wicked into the blazing furnace, where there will be weeping and gnashing of teeth. Have you understood all these things? Jesus asked. Yes, they replied. He said to them, Therefore every teacher of the law who has become a disciple in the kingdom of heaven is like the owner of a house who brings out of his storeroom new treasures as well as old. When Jesus had finished these parables, he moved on from there. Coming to his hometown, he began teaching in their synagogue, and everyone was amazed. Where did this man get this wisdom and these miraculous powers? They asked. Isn't this the carpenter's son? Isn't his mother's name Mary? And aren't his brothers James, Joseph, Simon, and Judas? Aren't all his sisters living here with us? Where did he get all this? And they took offense at him. But Jesus said to them, A prophet is honored everywhere except in his own hometown and among his own family. And because of their lack of faith, he did not do many miracles there. Chapter 14. The death of John and feeding the 5,000. Pure fantasy. And at that time, Herod the ruler heard about the fame of Jesus, and he said to his attendants, This must be John the Immerser, who has been raised from the dead. That is why he can do such miraculous powers. For Herod had arrested John, bound him, and put him in prison because of Herodias, the wife of his brother Philip. John had been telling Herod, It is not lawful for you to have her. Herod wanted to kill John, but he was afraid of the people because they considered John a prophet. But on Herod's birthday, the daughter of Herodias danced for the guests and pleased Herod so much that he promised with an oath to give her whatever she asked. Prompted by her mother, she said, Give me here on a platter the head of John the Immerser. The king was distressed, But because of his oath and his guests, he commanded that her request be granted. He sent and had John beheaded in the prison. His head was brought on a platter and given to the girl, who carried it to her mother. John's disciples came and took his body and buried it, and then they went and told Jesus. When Jesus heard what had happened, he withdrew by boat to a solitary place. But when the crowds heard about it, they followed him on foot from the towns. When Jesus landed and saw the large crowd, he had compassion on them and healed their sick. As evening approached, the disciples came to him and said, "This is a remote place, and it's already getting late. Send the crowds away so they can go to the villages and buy themselves some food." Jesus replied, "They don't need to go away. You give them something to eat." "We have here only 5 loaves of bread and 2 fish," they answered. "Bring them here to me," he said. Then he told the people to sit down on the grass. He took the 5 loaves and the 2 fish, looked up to heaven and gave thanks. Then he broke the loaves and gave them to the disciples, and the disciples gave them to the people. They all ate and were satisfied, and the disciples picked up 12 basketfuls of broken pieces that were left over. The number of those who ate was about 5,000 men, besides women and children. Immediately after this, Jesus made the disciples get into the boat and go on ahead of him to the other side, while he sent the crowds away. After he had sent them away, he went up on a mountainside by himself to pray. Later that night, he was there alone. Meanwhile, the boat was a considerable distance from land, buffeted by the waves because the wind was against it. Shortly before dawn, Jesus went out to them, walking on the lake. When the disciples saw him walking on the lake, they were terrified. "It's a ghost," they cried out in fear. But Jesus immediately said to them, "Take courage, it is I, don't be afraid." "Lord, if it's you," Peter replied, "tell me to come to you on the water." "Come," Jesus said. Then Peter got out of the boat, walked on the water, and came toward Jesus. But when he saw the wind, he was afraid, and beginning to sink, cried out, "Lord, save me." Immediately Jesus reached out his hand and caught him. "You of little faith," he said, "why did you doubt?" And when they climbed into the boat, the wind died down. Then those who were in the boat worshipped him, saying, "Truly you are the Son of God." When they had crossed over, they landed at Gennesaret, and when the people there recognized Jesus, they sent word throughout the surrounding country. People brought all their sick to him and begged him to let them just touch the edge of his cloak, and all who touched it were healed.